Welcome, one and all, to the SpareTalk News Network. Your host, Rod Weaver, will be up momentarily as he gets ready for his one-on-one interactive podcast to kick things off. So, sit back and enjoy. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome back, Howard. It's great to have you here again. We're tackling a topic today that's really got the bowling world buzzing, and honestly, a lot of bowlers, myself included sometimes, are a little conflicted about it. We're talking about string pin setters.
Thanks for having me, Rod. And you're absolutely right. It's a hot-button issue. I mean, as someone who grew up with the roar and clang of freefall machines, I'm a bit of an old-school guy myself. But I also understand that the industry, like any other, has to evolve, right? So I'm here to try and keep an open mind, look at the good and the bad, even if my gut reaction sometimes leans one way.
Definitely. It's so easy to just jump on the bowler's bandwagon, grab our torches and pitchforks and march against change. But we promise to be objective, and I think there are two main points that really frame this discussion from the get-go. On the negative side, and this is a big one for serious bowlers, is the pin action. With string pin setters, it's just not quite the same premium experience as with freefall machines. You lose some of that explosive, chaotic energy.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing everyone mentions. The way pins fly, the way they bounce off each other, the messenger action. It's fundamental to the game as we've known it. A perfectly thrown ball, you expect a certain kind of reaction. And with strings, sometimes it feels a little muted, I guess, a little less organic. It can definitely change the feel of a strike, which, let's be honest, is the most satisfying part of bowling.
Right? But then on the flip side, and this is where proprietors really listen, is the low cost of maintenance. Freefall machines are mechanical marvels, but they're also maintenance nightmares. They've got so many moving parts, so many things that can go wrong. String machines, comparatively, are a dream for an alley owner. And that, Howard, makes it easier for bowling alleys to stay in business, which, we need if we want places to bowl at all.
That's the big one, Rod. From a business perspective, it's a no-brainer. These older machines require skilled mechanics, and those guys are becoming harder and harder to find. The parts are expensive, the downtime is costly. String machines drastically reduce all of that. So, while we might grumble about the pin action, the proprietors are looking at their bottom line and seeing a lifeline.
Right. And that leads us into some really interesting, almost underlying issues, I think. We had a podcast episode a while back about bowling's rise in scoring and how top house bowlers are consistently averaging 230, 240 these days. That's fantastic, but it also raises questions about the long-term challenge and appeal for some. I'm starting to wonder if this migration to strings might be a really graceful, almost subtle way to ease into a lower scoring environment for bowling overall.
That's a fascinating thought, Rod. You're saying it's almost an accidental, or maybe even intentional, rebalancing of the game? Less perfect pin action naturally means fewer lucky strikes, perhaps more challenging spares. It could bring the averages down a notch, which might actually broaden the appeal, making it feel less intimidating for new bowlers and more challenging for the established ones who've mastered the freefall physics.
Precisely. It's a way to introduce a bit more challenge without overtly changing the rules of the game, if that makes sense. But let's pivot for a second, because this also has huge implications for the smaller ball games, duck pins and candle pins. These games, their entire appeal is that uninhibited, almost wild pin action. No strings on the pins there, just pure chaos. If 10-pin, the dominant game, moves to strings, what does that mean for them?
Oh, that's a really good point. Duck pins and candle pins are niche, but they have passionate followings. Their distinct charm is that dynamic pin movement. Putting strings on 10-pins would, in a way, make 10-pin feel a bit more like a tamed version, which could theoretically detract from the unique selling proposition of the smaller ball games.
Right. But here's the twist, Howard. The machinery for duck pins and candle pins is becoming incredibly scarce. It's almost impossible to find parts, let alone new machines. So ironically, The use of string pin setters, adapted for those smaller pins, might be the only avenue left for those variations of bowling that have been on the decline. It's a double-edged sword. It might fundamentally change their character, but it might also be their only shot at survival.
Wow, that's a tough pill to swallow for purists of those games. Imagine a world where duck pins have strings. It changes everything about the strategy, the sound, the feel. But you're right. If the choice is string duck pins or no duck pins at all, then it becomes a very different conversation. It's a consequence of 10 pins becoming so dominant from the 60s and 70s onward. The small ball games lost their following to effectively combat any framework changes that would best suit 10 pins.
Exactly. They didn't have the commercial leverage to protect their niche. Now, one thought I had, and this is probably a pipe dream, but a viable option for freefall machines could have been a revisit to the 1940s and 50s. Back then, shipbuilding companies were often involved in manufacturing these massive, complex machines. Imagine if we could restart that, but with modern innovations in technology, CNC machining, advanced materials, maybe even some robotics to automate certain aspects of maintenance. A freefall 2.0, if you will.
That's an incredible idea, Rod. A truly modern freefall machine could be revolutionary. But the cost, I imagine, would be astronomical, and the economies of scale might not be there anymore. It's a beautiful thought, a blend of classic mechanics with cutting-edge tech, but I suspect it's simply not financially feasible for most proprietors today, especially when the string machines are such a comparatively cheap alternative.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's fun to dream, though. Now, on a couple of other notes, just to clarify, there are some common issues that string pin setters wouldn't necessarily improve. For instance, duck pin lanes often have mechanical failures with gutter belts. That's a separate system, really, so strings wouldn't touch that. Same with ball return issues. Those are largely unaffected by the type of pin setter. So it's not a magic bullet for all alley problems.
Good clarification. It's easy to think of strings as this panacea for all alley woes, but it's really focused on the pin setting mechanism itself. Those other issues, the ball return, the gutters, those are still on the table for any alley owner, string or freefall.
Absolutely. But let's loop back to the big advantage, low maintenance. There's been a lot of publicity about string machines requiring much less maintenance, and that qualified mechanics would not need to be hired as frequently, or even at all, in some smaller operations. And this brings up a crucial point that I think patrons really need to latch on to, Howard.
And I think I know where you're going with this, Rod. If this is a primary consideration for the proprietors, and it absolutely is, it saves them tons of money, then the cost of bowling for the customers should in turn be lowered significantly. I mean, if they're saving on labor, on parts, on downtime, that has to translate to the consumer, right? A reasonable cost for weekly league bowling, a substantially lower lineage fee, would likely have a massively positive effect on bowling centers.
100%. People might realize they could afford to roll 3 or 4 nights a week instead of just 2, for example. That means more revenue for the centers, double shifts in the evenings, more people in the building. It's a win-win if proprietors pass on those savings. It's a crucial part of making this transition successful, I think.
I completely agree. That's a huge point. If the industry wants buy-in from bowlers, especially league bowlers who are the backbone of many centers, then they need to see a tangible benefit. Not just the alley stays open, but my wallet is happier. Lower lineage fees could be a game changer, drawing people back to bowling more frequently. It makes the sport more accessible.
Definitely. But now I have to confess, I have a major concern, a real death blow scenario playing out in my head. What if, down the road, this whole string machine idea flops? Not because the concept is bad, but because of short-sightedness in quality control or implementation. What if establishments try to cheap out on the quality of the pins being used, or use poor quality strings that break easily or wear out? Or what if there are incompatibility issues with new lines of bowling balls that have more or less aggressive entry points into the pocket, generating really unexpected spare leaves? All of these things need some serious, thorough testing before widespread adoption, and I'm not sure that's always happening.
Oh, that's a chilling thought, Rod. You're right. The promise of low maintenance is great, but if the execution is shoddy, it could completely backfire. Imagine pins that wobble, strings that tangle, or a ball that consistently leaves the dreaded 7-10 because the interaction with the pin is just off. That would erode customer confidence incredibly fast. The novelty would wear off and people would just stop coming. It's not enough to just save money. You have to maintain a baseline quality experience.
Exactly. The industry needs to be very careful not to shoot itself in the foot trying to cut corners. It's a long-term investment, not just a quick fix. And it ties into another point, the possible mindset of the bowling industry itself. Are they just depending on the fact that after a few years, a new wave of young customers might not even care about pin action issues? By then, the older professionals will have retired or passed on, and the younger generation of pro bowlers will just learn to live with whatever new technology changes are implemented. Is that the strategy?
That's a cynical but potentially accurate assessment, Rod. There's definitely a generational divide in how people perceive bowling. For younger bowlers who might not have grown up with the classic freefall sound and fury, string machines might just be normal. They won't have the same emotional attachment to the old way. It's a pragmatic approach for the industry, ensuring future viability, even if it means alienating some of the old guard.
It's an interesting evolution, right? Like any sport, it adapts. You look at baseball with pitch clocks, or even basketball with changes in rules over the decades. Bowling isn't immune. I think overall our estimation here has to be that this might just be a part of the evolution of bowling. We're in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a significant shift, probably the biggest one in pinsetter technology in decades. There are clear advantages for proprietors and potential benefits for customers if the savings are passed on. There are also undeniable drawbacks for the purist and some risks if not managed properly. But ultimately, bowling has to adapt to stay relevant and accessible. The string machine, for better or worse, seems to be a big part of that adaptation.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Howard. It's a conversation that's far from over, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting it as more centers make the switch. Thank you so much for joining me today and offering such a balanced perspective.
My pleasure, Rod. Always a lively discussion with you.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Keep those bowling balls rolling, string or no string, and we'll catch you next time.
From the News Journal from the year 2017. For sale sign goes up at landmark Park Lanes. Owner asking for community support to save bowling alley. Park Lanes is for sale and its owner is once again asking for community support. The Herring Realty sign went up Tuesday, said owner Ron Speck. This is a last resort. You either support it or you lose it, he said. Speck wants to save the 32-lane bowling alley on Park Avenue West and have someone keep it as a bowling alley. All three people who looked at it want to tear it down. If I don't sell it, I want to make it a warehouse, he said Tuesday. The 48,000 square foot facility sits on 5.5 acres. The listing price is $280,000. For months, the business has remained open only Thursdays through Sundays. Speck said he would like to get some support from the city and the community. He said it is difficult to get lane mechanics for bowling alleys in general because it is a dying trade, especially pinsetter mechanics. The bowling alley currently has no leagues. Speck said leagues want to come, but they want synthetic lanes and not the Park Lanes wooden alleys. It would cost $50,000 for 10 lanes to be done, said Speck. Speck renovated the building, adding a new roof and roughly 10 new furnaces since purchasing it in 2011. I can't put money in the place if the community won't support us, he said. It's still a sport people like to do, Speck said. Speck bought the 1410 Park Avenue West facility in November 2011 for less than $200,000 and reopened all 50 lanes. He wanted the facility to retain the name it's had since it opened in 1959. Before Speck bought it, Park Lanes has been an institution in the city since the late Brad Lewis built it into a state-of-the-art facility in the 1950s. The Lewis family sold it to owners who lived out of state, but financial trouble hindered the center, and it soon fell into disrepair and closed. Under Speck's management, there have been many changes. The old pool room area was turned into a conference and party area. Speck also had stepped up security. "What we need in Mansfield is more family entertainment," Speck said. "Current hours of operation are 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Thursdays and Fridays, noon to 1 a.m. Saturdays, and 3 to 8 p.m. Sundays." From the San Antonio Express News from the year 1992. High Roller. PBA star Kent Wagner of Palmetto defeated amateur Jim Hamrick of La Palma, California, 205 to 199 to win $42,000 in the $179,000 Super Bowl High Roller event in Las Vegas. Hamrick earned $21,000. This was the first year pro bowlers were eligible to compete in the event. From the Plain Dealer from the year 1986. North Coast Club is ready to bowl. North Coast Bowlers Tournament Club, a new group, has added Jeff Morin to its staff and will begin a series of handicap tourneys February 16. Morin, of North Ridgeville, a past Professional Bowlers Association national champion plagued by arm trouble while on tour, will assist Bob Stew and Dennis Studier in managing several types of events on both the east and west side. "Our main goal is for bowlers with a 190 average and below to have a fair yet challenging tournament," said Stew of Olmsted Falls. "Our entry fee, $50, may be a little higher than other tournaments, but with our payoff ratio being 1 out of 4 with first place $1,000, there is no comparison." Sites for NCTC's initial events are Brunswick Ambassador, February 16, Parmatown, March 2nd, Eastgate Coliseum, March 16, and Stardust Lanes, March 23rd. North Coast has tentative plans for 26 handicap events per year. Stew and Studier previously conducted senior citizens events in the area. They will now continue them under the North Coast banner. Whereas the handicap events will follow a Sunday format, senior citizen events, $10, will be Thursday or Friday. From the year 1986 in the Richmond Times-Dispatch. PBA rookie fells 3 stars in finals. Rookie John Odrabanak went through a field that included 3 of the best competitors in the Professional Bowlers Association to capture his first title in a $150,000 tournament yesterday. Odrabanak, 20, of Hammond, Indiana, knocked off top-seeded Mark Roth 202 to 190 in the title game to complete a 4-game series where he eliminated 3 players who had won a combined 67 PBA titles. Roth has 32 wins. Marshall Holman has 19 and Wayne Webb has 16. The win was worth $27,000 and a trip to this year's Firestone Tournament of Champions in Akron, Ohio in April. Odrabanak, who had earned just $6,785 in 3 years as a PBA member coming into the event, opened the finals with a 241 to 191 decision over Jim Harvey of Tucson, Arizona. In the second game, Odrabanak stopped Webb 218 to 177. He eliminated Holman 210 to 207 when Holman failed to get 2 strikes in the 10th frame. From the Valdosta Daily Times from the year 1962. Small boy gets youth in trouble. An 18-year-old Valdostan today knows the wrong kind of companion, no matter what his age, can get in trouble with the law. A 6-year-old boy almost got him jailed. The 18-year-old spotted the small boy lugging along a big armload of bowling pins and stopped to give him a ride. The 6-year-old said a local bowling center manager had given the pins to him and said he could have a bunch more of them, but he didn't have a way to take them home. The teenager offered use of his car to haul the pins to the younger boy's home. At the 6-year-old's direction, they loaded 25 cases of bowling pins valued at $250 from behind the local bowling alley and took them to the small boy's home. The bowling center manager reported the pins stolen. A police captain remembered seeing the large number of bowling pins stacked in a yard. Police went looking and found this story today. The bowling pins were recovered. No charge was filed. From the year 2006 in the Boonville Standard. New owner brings fresh ideas to bowling alley. For the second time in less than 4 years, the bowling alley in Boonville has gone through a change in ownership. Formerly known as Darby's Lincoln Lanes, and then simply as Lincoln Lanes, the business will now go by the name of Hunter Lanes. Hunter is named after my first grandson, said local businessman Ron Evans, who bought the bowling alley late last year. I wanted to have the name changed to let people know that it is different, and I always thought that if I ever had a sports bar, I'd name it Keggers. The 20-lane bowling alley had gone through upgrades in the past few years, including the installation of automatic scoring computers. But when the former owners decided they no longer wanted to operate the business, there was concern that the place might close for good. Linville National Bank approached me about buying the bowling alley because they didn't want to let it close, said Evans. The old owners basically didn't have enough time to run it, I guess. But the bank approached me because I had had success with some apartment complexes in Evansville. Evans has also improved the new addition to the bowling alley, which had been designed as a steakhouse and sports bar. The steakhouse is no longer in operation. Now the area is more of a true sports bar with big screen televisions. I'd like to take the area where the steakhouse was and make it into something for the kids of Boonville, said Evans. Maybe a teen club, something with some pool tables or some arcade machines. Maybe even a DJ 2 or 3 times a month. I'm not 100% sure that I will do that, but that is the plan. For now, all of the leagues are still running. The weekend crowds are growing. Doors are opened 7 days a week, and Evans is happy with the initial reaction from the public and the regular league bowlers. All of the leagues are running and they are all happy, said Evans. I've had to raise the prices a moderate amount to keep things going, but everybody understands and wants the place to stay active, so they have been willing to work with me. There was a fear that if it closed for any period of time, it would not make a comeback, added Evans. That is one thing that Boonville has going for it, the bowling alley. Hunter Lanes, the only bowling facility in Warwick County, is located on Boonville's east side along State Road 62. I just want people to come in to the place, enjoy it, and support it, said Evans. We just can't stand for any other businesses in Boonville to close down. We've got to support our local stuff, because if we don't, it won't make it. It is a nice, clean establishment, and I won't tolerate any nonsense. Here's a bowling tip from the Dr. X series of bowling clinic hints from the Sacramento Bee from the year 1978. Bowling tip. You can track errors. As a bowling ball rolls down the lane, it picks up pieces of lane dressing along with dust and oil particles. These are hardly visible to the naked eye, but when they are concentrated, you can actually see the band they make around the ball. This is called the ball track, and it can help serve you in your detective work to become a better bowler. Examine the track. The narrower it is, the more consistently you roll the ball. If it is wide or wanders all around your ball, it simply means you need some extra work in releasing the ball the same way. How narrow should it be? With many top bowlers, the track is barely 1/4 of an inch wide. If you come anywhere near that track, you can be more than satisfied. If the track is wide, check your delivery carefully to try to pinpoint where the variance is from roll to roll. Better yet, have a teammate observe you on the lanes to help spot the problem. from the year 1984 in the Times-Union. They're just hog wild about bowling. A bowling ball has found a new home in a place where it doesn't matter if the ball rolls into a gutter. At Sojourner Hall for Women on East Main Street, one of the items available at the next-to-new shop was a green bowling ball that had been there for over a year. "I wondered why it didn't sell," said Nancy Watson, who manages the shop. "I didn't realize that bowling balls must be fitted for finger size." A few days ago, a young woman bought the bowling ball for $1, and the sizes of the finger holes didn't make any difference to her. "I told her I was so glad she was buying it," Watson said. "You won't believe what I'm buying it for," the woman replied. She explained that she was buying the ball for her pigs, Watson said. "Staying in the barn during cold weather, they get bored and stressful. They would have fun and get some exercise pushing a bowling ball around, and they can't bite into it or break it." "Pig ball? It seems to me she should sell tickets to spectators," Watson said. "I'd love to watch, but I neglected to ask the woman her name or find out where this entertainment takes place." From the San Antonio Express News from the year 1992. Roommate bumped. Mike Scroggins of Amarillo not only beat his roommate Robert Lawrence of Austin in the finals of ARC Sacramento PBA Open last week, but he also took Lawrence's place in the 52-man Firestone Tournament of Champions field. "I didn't realize I'd bumped Robert from the Firestone," said Scroggins of his first PBA title with his 242-202 victory over Lawrence. "In fact, my biggest goal was in just qualifying for the telecast." "Mike did what he had to do, and I'm happy for him," Lawrence said. "I knew it was just a matter of time in getting bumped from the Firestone, and that I needed to win to requalify."
Well, I guess we've come to the end and we'll be wrapping it up for today. Thanks for stopping by and tuning in. As usual, if you haven't already done so and would like to be notified when future videos become available and are published, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of the videos or YouTube video screen. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the upcoming Thursday or Friday. Take care.